Welcome to the International Conference on Responsible Tourism and Hospitality 2022. This is the ICRTH 2022 Industrial Session number 25 with the theme Talent Development in Tourism and Hospitality Industry. I believe all of us agree that talent development is essential to mobilize responsible tourism into actions towards economic prosperity, social, cultural inclusivity, and environmental sustainability. I am Professor Dr. Corina Joseph from University Technology Mara, Sarawak Branch, Malaysia. Will be your session chairperson for today, together with my colleague, session chair Dr. Virayan Tino Vegadam from University of Mauritius. Yeah. So we will have three speakers, okay? All of them are from the industry, and they will be presenting their topics based on their vast experiences. Now, I would like to pass over the session to Dr. Virayan. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Prof. Corina. Thank you to all speakers to make it today. Allow me to introduce our first presenter, Isel Thompson. So thank you, Isel, for accepting our invitation and for being our first presenter today. So Isel Thompson is currently working as consultant for Lemon Shot Consultancy in the UK. And so I'll just take a quick snapshot from Isel's profile. So from Isel's profile, we can read, with 24 years experience in hospitality, Isel specializes in guest experience, talent acquisition, and brand engagement. She believes that constant reviews, conceptualization, and development of sustainable initiatives are the key to developing a brand from within. And it starts with the internal guest, the talent. And from Isel's word, I believe in leading and encouraging creativity and innovation, nurturing high-performing teams. From those words of Isel, I now invite her for her presentation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Virayan. Thank you, Dr. Karina. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Good morning, and welcome to the conversation about talent management within tourism and hospitality. My question for all of you as we start this journey is, what are you doing for it? Before we go too far, let's do a quick recap on the impact of the pandemic to the industry. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of difficulty clicking it now. There you go. All right, since you're gonna edit, I'm gonna come back. So the impact of the industry requires us to first ask ourselves a question: what is talent management? If we look at the stats, the overall growth in tourism and industry stands at 15.1%. And if we look at what Edward Mady says, making employee appreciation a reality is extremely gratifying. It doesn't take a lot of time, but in my perspective, it takes a lot of effort. And we follow on, as he says, as a leader, your main job should be to build a culture that gives employees peace of mind and that makes them feel safe. Coming back to statistics that we talked about, the Hospitality Global Market Report for 2022 says, under the WTO's statistics projections for 2021 to 2024, it's going to take us about 2.5 years to 4 years to get to the 2019 levels for tourism to pick up, for the economy to pick up. A lot of people might say, oh my goodness, it's an expenditure of 2.5, 3 years. But for me, when it comes to talent acquisition and management, that's the amount of time you have to pick up on what's necessary to drive the right talent for ourselves. And that's an opportunity for all of us. If we look at the question, what is talent management? Citing the source from IHR, a lot of times people see it as simply changing the wheel a little bit. Is it a facet of human resource management? If I were to use my words, it's just 3 very simple associations: strategy drives execution. Talent management is the strategy that informs and dictates what human resource management will decide and take action of, performed by your management team in human resources. It involves improved employee engagement. It involves generating new ideas, definitely about developing more effective managers. And more importantly, you want to be able to retain your talent. So it is the alignment of organization goals with individual growth potential. It is about recognizing the individuality of each and every talent. They are not the same. And more importantly, it's about you keeping an open mind to be able to rectify or to verify or to identify that there is a difference. And you should note the distinct potential of the talent to discover and realize opportunities for the organization. It is about collective growth, and it is not just about organizational growth based on current skills. It is about projection, potential future growth based on the growth potential of the individual. So when we look at this quick comparison, it is not a good or bad. It is actually about the difference and the potential between the two. Human resources is technical. It is definitely centralized and coordinated by the human resource department. It is more admin focused because most oftentimes you hear people say policy, quality, policy, policy, policy. We have to adhere by regulations. There's nothing wrong with that. It is simply alignment of goals with strategy and policies. And if I were to give you a reference on how to measure it, it's like taking an attendance. It's like, have I done this? Is it a checklist? Does it work in alignment to what we put together? But if you take that shift and look at talent management, it is strategic. It is actually forward planning based on the potential of the talent you have and not just the skill sets they currently possess. It is about involving every level within the company, within the organization, each management level, every day. It is about engaging them and giving them the belief that you really want to develop them as well as develop the potential within the company. Pardon the spelling error there. And if I give you an example, when we talk about PDP, Personal Development Program, we talk about professional development, what are you doing to support them in their growth on a professional level? And if you look at it, policy-driven, HRM, nothing wrong with it. Talent management, talent-centric. It's a good plus to it. It's not a comparison on right or wrong. It's not a question of, is it a new spin on an old wheel? It's about really going into more details and understanding the importance as well as the value add you can have if you focus on talent management and retention and development. So if we move on and we look at it, you have to recognize that your true culture, your organizational culture is the thing that determines the talent you attract. You are responsible for your internal guest. Your actions carry more weight to you. No, your actions carry more weight to your guest than it does to you. You might perceive it as simply as an instruction. You might perceive it as simply a directive, but they watch you and they observe how you carry what you say you want them to do. Are you delivering the same message? It begins with the right culture. It starts with you, the management. If we carry on and we look at the different generations we have within the organization now, and most organizations currently face what we call a multi-generation management system. You have your baby boomers, you have your Gen X, you have Gen Y, commonly known as millennials, and your up and coming talent pool is coming from Gen Z, which are your Gen Techs. They are your future. Are you communicating to these people? And when you look at it, the baby boomers prefer verbal, prefer personal interactions. They want to see you. They want to talk to you. If I can't see you, you're not reliable. If I don't see you, I don't know. I don't trust you. I don't know if you're doing what I want you to do. I can't quite monitor. When you look at Gen X, they love the ease and convenience of email and text messages because it's efficient. I just send you a WhatsApp. I just send you and shoot you an email. I don't necessarily have to sit down and sit with you to make a decision or to communicate with you. When you talk about your Gen Ys, your millennials, so to say, and they have really poor reputation for no reason in my perspective, but that's a conversation for another time. They prefer texting, they prefer social media. The reliance of instant gratification and validation is something not to be ignored because they need to feel heard. Are you listening? And when we look at the next group of talent, your Gen Techs, your Gen Zs, they don't know what a Nokia 3210 is. So let's stop talking about it. It's more important for you to recognize the fact that the Gen Z need you to understand, whilst they do like instant text messages, they do have an element of that instant gratification that Gen Y also likes. They still like face-to-face meetings. It doesn't have to be physical. They are quite keen to doing virtual meetings. Are you doing that to engage them? Communicate differently with them. It's not about what you're accustomed to. It's about what's effective with who you're trying to reach. And if we carry on a little bit and we talk about this, you look at the statistics by, this is from Harvard Business Review. The millennials are seriously misunderstood, and I tend to agree with it. Every different continent, every different area, the focus on what they're looking for in a manager is different. And if we were to focus on Asia Pacific, where I believe a lot of us are from, or from the Middle East, you see a lot of them are looking for empowerment. They're looking to see whether there's a technical or functional expert they can learn from. They're just looking for value. And it's not just value in monetary terms. They're looking for value in their learning process. They're looking for value in, do I stay loyal? Why? What's the reason for me to be loyal to you? What is the reason for me to stay? What do you bring me in terms of value? Because I know what value I can bring you. Are you listening to them? And when we look at the Gen Tech, the Gen Zs, the post-millennials, the I generation, there's so many definitions for them. You look at what they're looking for. They are looking for not just interaction, they're looking for engagement. They want to see you. They want to see the value you bring them. They want to communicate with you. They're extremely efficient. They rely heavily on technology. Are you communicating with them that way? There is an expectation that Generation Z is going to be the highest educated group of people we'll see rising up to the talent pool. You're going to be able to get up to 33 trillion in income by 2030. And if you look at the statistics by the World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, the hospitality industry's importance as a main driver in global value creation. You're looking at 8.6 trillion US dollars to the global economy in 2022, which is only 6.4% lower than pre-pandemic years. Looking at what happened in 2020, which is the worst year for travel, essentially the hospitality and travel industry accounts to 1 out of 10 employment opportunities in the world. And that means that the number of people in the sector learning, earning, and living in the sector amounts to 330 million in 2022, which is only 1% below pre-pandemic 2020. That's 58 million more jobs. What are you doing to attract the right skilled talent to this? We carry on. Do you understand them? Are you communicating with them? Are you engaging with them in a way they realize you are creating jobs for them, that you are creating opportunities for them? So we look at this quick cycle. If I were to talk about summarizing in a nutshell or a donut, do you understand who they are? Who are you trying to attract? Have you shown them or given them the opportunity to see that there is an opportunity for them to grow? Do you realize that you provide them with, that you have to provide them with personal engagement opportunities? Do you see that their opportunities need for them to recognize they can make a difference? Because we talk about sustainability, we talk about responsible tourism, we talk about taking ownership for your actions, ownership for your consumer patterns, where you spend your money. That responsibility is very real to them. Have you shown them that what you want from them gives them that opportunity to prove they're making a difference? And more importantly, show your originality and why you're different from other employers. Show what makes you different. As much as you want them to show you how they're different, they need to see that you are different. Remember, they are each unique. They are different. That's why you hire talent. That's why you approach talent. You don't want a cookie cutter talent. You want to see difference in them, and they want the same from you. And it's not just now. They want to see that the difference will sustain and carry out throughout their journey with you, their progression with you. So consider these questions. I think these are important questions for all of us. Do you think you're open to variations in decorum? Do you always expect somebody to stand out when you walk in the room, reach out the hand first and be eager, suit and tie? But if I'm creative, why do I have to wear a suit and tie? I'm a digital talent. I don't need to meet people so much. Are you truly engaging them? Are you truly responding to them in a way they can accept? More importantly, out of all these questions here, I hear this a lot. We hire attitude over aptitude. So do you really need a degree when that role doesn't call for a degree? It calls for attentiveness. It calls for astuteness. It calls for attention to detail. Does that come with debt? Do you realize that that's a gate that you put in to prevent and to deter your future talent? Have you updated your interview process to attract the right talent pool? Last question, which I ask a lot of the people that I work with, a lot of organizations I interact with. Are you truly listening, or are you cherry picking what you want to hear? If we carry on to go, the summary, I would say, in order to change the way you think, you've got to change the way you see. That's the most important thing. People say they want change, they need to see change, they recognize the need to change. The 3 R's that I tend to use: review, refine, and revise. You see that you need change, you will think about the change that's necessary. But if you don't change the way you see, you will continue to think the same way you have in years. So if we were to carry on, what are our takeaways here? First, talent management is about nurturing, it's about developing, and it's about the retention of talent, skilled talents within the organization. It is about foresight, projection. It is about adaptability, making change, effective change, and listening to the need for change. And it is about collective growth with the organization, growth together with the talent. It is about building that bridge between the gaps. You are that bridge. If we look at the many, many actions that I would recommend here, develop your brand and be proud about it. Be loud about it. What's different about you? How are you appealing to them? How do they appeal to the demographic you're trying to appeal to? Simplify your hiring process. Establish your scope. What is the type of person you want to work with? Build what you offer as a brand, as a manager to the talent. And more importantly, have a solid and evolving progression. We talk about being relevant. People like Bill Marriott, he's active on LinkedIn, talking about engagement opportunities. Jan de Frita, the leading STR industry data firm for hospitality stats. He's on Twitter all the time. You look at Lindsay Ubermeth, who's always talking about how do we reach out? How do we listen? It doesn't take time. And more importantly, as I close up, we have to remember this. Cultural integration is necessary to bridge organizational needs to encourage local talent development, which translates to organizational growth. Are you ready to start this conversation? It is necessary for you to start this conversation. That concludes my time today. Thank you very much for listening. I hand it back to the chairs.
Thank you very much, Giselle, for this excellent presentation. So I think we'll move straight away to the second presentation, and then at the end, so we'll provide some remarks and summarize everything. So let us move to our second presentation by Prachi Thakur. And so I'll just again take a very small extract from Prachi's profile, which I think gives an idea about what she does. So just an extract from Prachi's profile. So when I started traveling alone, I realized that our spaces in the travel industry are not designed for inclusion, and that is the core of all the work I do. To design a better tomorrow, I pivoted my career from accounting to travel, and now I'm a diversity trainer and strategist. In simple words, I train people to be more inclusive in the travel industry with a focus on women. So on these words, the words of Prachi actually, so I will invite now Prachi for her presentation. The floor is yours, Prachi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Virayan.
So hi, everyone. I'm Prachi. I'm a diversity researcher, a strategist and trainer at World Women's Tourism Singapore. And today I am here to talk about talent development in tourism and hospitality industry. Thank you so much, Hazel, for setting up the ground on which I'm going to talk about. And what I am going to talk about is where do we stand right now, what our future looks like, and what we can do to be there better, faster, and what can we do from beyond today. So where are we? Thousands of reports ranging from Google to McKinsey to UNWTO to WTTC are talking about this hashtag Great Resignation. Tourism and hospitality industry is the #1 industry which is losing talent at unprecedented rate. And it's not only because of pandemic. Well, it got triggered because of the pandemic, but people in our industry realized that this isn't a good place to be. So people are resigning at largest rate. If we trust the research of McKinsey, this year when they did a survey of thousands and millions of hospitality and tourism employees across the world, we are losing our talent at 16% per year, which is highest among all the industries they did the survey in. Second, people are leaving and people left and they're not ready to come back. So we thought that, hospitality and tourism took a break because of the pandemic, because most of the, our outlets, our organizations were shut down during the pandemic. But it wasn't the problem when people left or people had to leave. But the problem happened when they decided that they are not driving back. And third is that people are choosing different careers. People are pivoting from our industry to different industries. And why? We'll see in next slides. So what happened with the Great Resignation? As Hazel was talking about, we have lack of work-life balance. Tourism and hospitality industry, people have largest work pressure. We have people coming in, people going out, and there are so many things people in our industry have to do around the clock. And then there is discrimination and harassment. Our industry, is the highest grossing industry on sexual harassment. In 2008 to 2018, the survey reports from United States range that 14% of sexual harassment complaints were from the US in our industry. 14%, and that amounts to a lot. So what happens when people don't decide to come back, and why don't they decide to come back? People are looking for meaning. As Hazel was pointing out, that our people, the Gen Zs and Gen Ys are not only here for earning a salary and a decent income and a reputation, they're looking for meaning. But at the same time, there is lack of meaning in our industry. There is a lot of work pressure and imbalance. And then there is a lot of ignorant marketing. I recently on my LinkedIn made a post about how a company from South Africa wanted more people to come to Africa. But the slogan they made was "Go back to Africa," which not only was highly racist, but was super ignorant in terms of marketing. So people are also, on the other hand, are looking for sustainable careers. They are looking for sustainable lifestyles. And where do we stand? Very poorly, actually. So these are the problems. We have a certain set of problems we are standing with, but the future does not look like that. The future is different. We know that this model won't work. So what is actually that we are looking for? The future talent is aware and involved. They are not just there 9 to 5 clocking their time and wanting their salary to be paid on 1st or 31st of every month. They're involved and aware. They know what they want and they're ready to do everything to get it. They are focusing on all 3 pillars of sustainability. Gone is the time when even now, gone is the time when people used to think that sustainability only means, having green carpets and potteries and all those things. We are also looking at social sustainability. So the newer talent that is coming in also focuses on what are we doing about DEI? How are the women treated at our workplace? How is the LGBTQ plus members treated at our workplace? And the most important thing, they are looking at balanced work and life. So explaining a bit further, the new generation, the new talent which is coming in is highly involved.
they're also our champions, they are on social media, literally everywhere. So what they say also becomes our word of mouth publicity for our brands. So if we don't treat our people, if we don't treat our talent the way they want to be treated, we are here for a loss. They are also observant and vigilant. Recently, there were cases when one colleague reported sexual harassment about another colleague, and the company had to pay millions of dollars in sexual harassment complaints. So we can't think of making mistakes. Second, about the sustainability part. People, as I mentioned, that people, gone is the time when people used to think only about sustainability, green initiatives and all. People now read the fine line on where we are on social sustainability. Do we have social initiatives only as a CSR thing, or we are actually involved? One company which I like to mention when it comes to championing social sustainability and very being loud and proud about it is ICRTH. If you go to ICRTH's website, they have so many wonderful initiatives listed for different sections. It's not only about diversity initiatives, it's also about initiatives for women, initiatives for the LGBTQ plus employees, and different programs for these employee developments. They are very, very specific about the initiatives they have, and I absolutely love their championing of social sustainability. Now, why I'm mentioning this is, if I am a new talent and looking for exploring new jobs in hospitality and tourism industry, ICRTH will be my first choice because their values are shared with mine. Now, the third is balancing work and life. As Hazel was pointing out, that people have different needs right now, and people are not ready to compromise on those needs. So are we really focusing only on human resources, or are we putting human back in the human resources? Are we ready to acknowledge that people are different, people are unique, and if we have to keep them in our industry, in our organization, we need to let them show authentically at work? As Hazel, again, I am building very much on Hazel's point that if I am a digital creator for your brand, even in hospitality and tourism, I don't need to wear suit and tie. I can work in PJs and still do magic for your brand. So am I being allowed to share authentically, show up authentically, or am I told to wear suit and tie because that's what we do and that's what we have been doing? That's a question you might want to ponder if we are focusing on talent development and talent management. So now these were the problems. This is how the future looks like. So what can we do? We can restart. The first thing is the acknowledgement that no one's perfect. When I talk about, the biases that exist in us, and, when I deal with brands and I tell them, we all have biases, I kind of get a little backlash. But the reality is we all have biases. We all have prejudices. We all have stereotypes ingrained in us. And trust me, it's not a problem as long as you're ready to accept that no one's perfect. And then the identification of those biases. One thing I recommend is having a lot of diversity training. One thing, because I am a diversity trainer, but having diversity training and having a system in place in organizations which help people identify their challenges and acknowledge that there are challenges goes a long way, really long way in managing talent properly. Second is having diversity training and diversity initiatives, having good resources for it. So imagine that I am a hospitality and tourism brand and I need to have diversity training. What I do is I get the cheapest available diversity trainer without really thinking what I need. I just want to get it done with. It's a checklist item for me this year that, okay, I get pointed out in CSR that, okay, I did diversity training. That's really not going to work. I need good resources for it. And it's investing poorly in diversity training is like going to a general physician when you have a heart issue. And this is one of my favorite examples I like to give, is because both are doctors. Yes, both have medical degrees, but one is specialized in dealing with heart issues. So you can't expect to be treated by a general physician when you are experiencing a heart issue. It's simply like that. It's as easy as that, actually. And third is the ingraining of cultural intelligence. This is specifically for academics in tourism and hospitality. When we are talking about talent development, when we are preparing our future employees, future leaders in hospitality and tourism, are we ingraining curiosity in them? Or are we just, mixing up the policies of HR and how they should look like and giving them soup of it? We should, as academics, as the preparer of, if that is a word for me, that if as a person who is preparing the future of tourism and hospitality, I would work highly towards ingraining a curious mind in future talent. Why? Because half the solution of the challenges which happens with DEI and inclusion at work gets solved if you have a curious mind. And second, acceptance. I want to build a little bit on it. People focus a lot on understanding. Oh, you should understand. You shouldn't understand. I don't understand. I don't focus on understanding. You know why? Because understanding is a very complex process, and a simple process, and a little challenging, but a simple process where we can begin is acceptance. I don't need to understand everything to accept it. For example, if I meet someone from a different religion and they have a different dress than mine, I don't need to understand why they are wearing that dress. I just need to accept, okay, it is a religious dress. I'm good with it. Acceptance goes longer way than understanding. That was where we were. What can we do and how can we do things about it? So 3 takeaways from today. First thing is about education. This is also for academics in our industry and the brands in our industry. Education doesn't get limited to classroom. It stays as much as the more you grow in our industry. In fact, the more you need to be educated because you'll be dealing with a larger number of people. The second is about asking, about being curious, things you don't understand, things which are new for you. Even if you have been in the industry for 40 years, 60 years, I've come across people who are 40 years in the industry and double, triple my age, but are so curious. And that gives me hope because curiosity is the solution, best solution, in fact, for talent management. If you don't understand how a person is reacting, why a person is reacting, rather than making judgment, stereotypes, or bringing biases in, the best thing to do in that situation is to ask, is to be curious about why things are happening. And third is the training. I will never stop advocating the importance of diversity training in our industry because we really, really need it. Assessing where we stand, assessing where my organization, our organizations, our classrooms stand, and assessing how we can help them build a better future is the way beyond. That's all from me. This is my email and LinkedIn. I'm super active on LinkedIn and I encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for this very insightful presentation. I know it's not easy to keep up with the time when you're so passionate about the topic, and we would like to continue listening to you. Sorry, both you and Hazel, to have to, again tell you that we need to keep up with time. It's just because of time restrictions, otherwise would have been super happy to continue listening to you. Let us move to our third presenter now. So Shireen Azli, who was a former CEO of Malaysia Healthcare Travel. And I would again just like to take a small quote from Shireen's profile as an introduction. So we can read from Shireen's profile. So after 16 years of invaluable corporate exposure with a public listed TM group, I then found new passion in making a difference through nation building work at government agencies, namely Talent Corporation Malaysia and Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, MHTC. As CEO at the MHTC, I led the achievement of consistent double-digit CAGR growth of 16% from 2015 to 2019 for Malaysia healthcare travel industry. The amplification of Malaysia's brand and value proposition was also remarkable, resulting in Malaysia becoming the #1 global healthcare destination by volume in 2019. So we look very much forward to your presentation, Shireen. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much, Dr. Varian. Thank you very much, Dr. Karina, for the introduction, for chairing this session, and thank you for the invitation to this conference as well. So now I must also credit my fellow speakers, the panelists, Hazel and Prachi, for setting the grounds for me. For my talk, because then I don't have to talk about what talent management is all about. What I want to share today is more some sort of a case study of the application of the things that Hazel and Prachi spoke about. And I can speak it with conviction because that's what I personally led and executed in Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council as a CEO, and implementing talent management specifically for the tourism and hospitality industry. And for Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, in case you don't know, is actually a medical tourism organization. So we actually care for not only tourists, but patients. And that gets a bit more complicated, to be honest. We've been talking about healthcare, talking about taking care of somebody's life and also health. It's more challenging, especially in making sure that you have the right talent pool to handle that. I was the CEO of Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council, but currently I have set up my own consulting arm, and I'm doing talent management and branding consultant as well as a healthcare consultant. So for this specific topic, what I want to do is just look at the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council as a case study, and how we actually implemented effective talent management in the hospitality industry. So just to share a little bit, one of the key things that was a challenge to us when I took over the organization in 2015 was to set Malaysia as the leading global healthcare destination. In 2014, Malaysia was not even in the top 10 list of, as a medical travel destination. And when you're talking about leading, you're talking about nothing but number one, right? So that was the vision we set in 2015 when I joined Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council. And the mission is really to promote Malaysia healthcare as a brand globally and to facilitate the industry sustainability. So not just about marketing, but you're talking about facilitating the industry sustainably. So that's where the challenge came, because promotion is easy, but delivering the promise and the brand promise, the brand value is the critical thing. So note the vision and the mission. And I would like to share with you that, we have multiple procedures, we have, multiple hospitals. We have about 200 member hospitals, and we have 76 of them are actually active in medical tourism in Malaysia. They are all private hospitals. And if you can see in 2019, if you can see the little performance there, the 2019, we have doubled what we, the number of healthcare travelers that we welcomed into Malaysia from 2011. And what I want to share is that in 2019, mind you, I took over 2015, 2019, Malaysia became the #1 medical travel destination in the world by volume. 2014, we were nobody. 2019, we became #1. And Hazel, we do have many patients coming from the UK as well, Hazel. So we had 1.7, we actually created 15,000 jobs. We had about 10 billion ringgit in investments, and the total economic impact on an annual basis about 7 to 8 billion ringgit. So that's the size of our medical tourism. But that these were all made possible with our stakeholders. So we are talking about our hospitals, our immigration, our tourism operators. So it's the whole value chain that made this possible. So yeah, we were #1 in 2019, and that was a feat or an achievement that was thought to be impossible for Malaysia, 5 years before that. So the game changer. You saw Hazel and Prachi talking about what would make a difference, what's really the game changer. And the answer is, from the 16% growth 2008 to the CAGR 2018, 13%, and then we grew to 25% annual growth by 2019. The difference is really our talent pool. And this is why it's critical to effectively manage your talent in the industry. And when I'm talking about our talent pool, I'm not just talking about Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council's pool. I'm talking about the whole end-to-end talent management of delivering the care to our medical travelers. So, okay, I'm not going to repeat what Hazel has talked about, what is talent development. But how we in the Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council and also the Malaysia Healthcare industry has built to be a game-changing in talent development, So technically we had 4 areas that we acknowledged to be the key, which is leadership, workforce planning, employee experience, and also growth development. So quickly, leadership, if you don't have the clear vision and you don't translate it into reality, it doesn't work. So it's very important that the leadership has a clarity and not of where we are going to go, and communicate it and put it in reality throughout the organization as well as all the stakeholders, and it's important to have the why, and you have to keep the why very clear. So for us, we define the why, we define the how, we define the what for MHTC as well as for the industry. So for example, why do we need to have this industry? Because everyone has the right to access quality healthcare in this world. I mean, not just Malaysians, we're talking about everyone in the world, they should have the right to access quality healthcare. So when our team, our talent understand what they are doing, the impact, the impact that they are delivering, how they're making a difference to the patients, to the tourists, to the medical tourists, then they are also internally driven. And the how is to make the quality private healthcare available and accessible and affordable. So in order to do that also, a lot of work needs to be put in by all of our talent pool. And how to do that, the what that we have to deliver is a quality treatment. And this is where our hospitals as our key stakeholders are playing the role. So not just about marketing. You can promote, you can market, but if you don't have the good products, you don't have the quality, the world-class healthcare, nobody will come to our shows. Nobody will step into our hospitals. So it's very important that all our key stakeholders understand the why, the how, the what along the way, and the talent also understand that. And in that manner, workforce planning is also very important. People are the right people are the most important asset, not just people, the right people. So you need to understand the right people for the right job and all the things that Hazel and Prati spoke about. What is the understanding of your current future goals? You identify the capacity, capability. You look at the gaps, and then you understand, you forecast what's needed, and you must make sure that all that are put together, understand, you implement, you review, and you evaluate all your talent management strategies that have been put in place, because otherwise it's not going to be effective. So again, the right people is to define the destination and to create the journey's path together. So all this is very important in delivering the care that we need to our medical tourists and also deliver the hospitality to them. And one thing that I've always made sure that, especially you're dealing with Gen X, Gen Y, and the millennials, you need to have a good employee experience for the employee to deliver an excellent customer experience. And when I spoke about the end-to-end, look at this, right? When we deliver medical healthcare or medical travel experience, we deliver, at the arrival, we have the concierge waiting. You see, from the arrival, we welcome them from the aerobridge. We have our concierge and lounge services at our airports. We have we partner with the transport and tour operators and our hospitals. We bring them to the treatment and rehab, and then they go for their holidays and their wellness, recovery, tourism. And then at departure, we actually look after them and send them back. So that whole process, you need quality talent to deliver that wow end-to-end patient experience. And when you talk about talent, again, it's not just MHTC, it's everyone in the value chain. So when you want to deliver that wow experience to the customer, employees have to have a rewarding experience. So you need to be able to understand our strength. We need to strengthen where it's, where there are gaps, etc. And we need to be able to prioritize in terms of our delivered employee experience and making sure that they deliver the best to our customers. And last but not least, number 4 is the growth of development of the employees. And please pardon the spelling. So the company's ultimate competitive advantage is really the growing and the developing of our talent. So you need to make sure you invest in growing and developing them, and must make sure that's a management top priority. You must make sure that the ownership is owned by the individuals, by the superiors, by HR, by also all our stakeholders in the value chain. And we must make sure that the training and development are relevant for the key competencies and critical skills to deliver the best care for our patients and our tourists. And also, we have to make sure that they have the leadership exposure to drive their own teams. So everyone is a leader in their own team, so they will have to drive that. And the assessment of impact, it has to be consistently done, and you have to make sure that we have effective succession planning. So that's what we implemented in HTC. And we always think that if we need to make sure that we train our employees, because if they stay without us training them, they're not going to be very productive. So talent management effectively in Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council is comprehensive, and we must appreciate what matters. Maybe it's hard to keep understanding everything, but we must have the appreciation what matters to the employee. Then they will deliver the best to their patients and their tourists coming over and deliver the best service. So that's always what I encourage my leaders in the organization to keep doing, and also making sure engagement with employees and customers are intact and very close. So that's what I have. I know this is like a short presentation of 15 minutes, but basically, that's what has made it possible for Malaysia Healthcare Travel Council to bring Malaysia Healthcare and Malaysia as a #1 destination pre-COVID 2019. Of course, now we need to recover from the pandemic, and we are investing a lot more in our talent development. But I have left the organization, but I'm still in the industry, and I believe Malaysia can be bound to be again the #1 destination in the world. With that, thank you very much, and I hope thank you for listening, and I hope that it's beneficial for talent management in the hospitality industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shireen, for this good presentation. I think we had 3 excellent presentations, no doubt about it. And what's interesting is that each one of you, so you look at different perspectives. So Isa provided a good introduction, actually. It's good that we did the presentation first, so providing a good definition, understanding of what talent management is all about. So I'm sure all our viewers, attendees of the conference will, at the outset, listening to Hazel, have a good understanding of what talent management is all about, why is it important, and what are the general challenges. Hazel also provided some interesting insights based on her own work, which is very interesting, and especially the comparison of different generations and looking at how they communicate differently and why it is important for talent managers to take that into account. Thank you, Patri, for kind of dissecting everything at the individual level, at the level of individual employees. And so really liked your analysis as to what are the current challenges and so why actually it's happening and what can be done. So that was very insightful. And Shireen then provided us with more kind of what we say a macro perspective. So looking at the role of talent management within that whole ecosystem. So taking the case of medical tourism in Malaysia as a case study. So that was great listening to all of you. I'm sure that so we'll be having a lot of questions for the conference in our upcoming live sessions. And I look forward very much to discuss further during our live sessions. So I will pass on to Prof. Corina now.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Virayan, for your excellent summary for the 3 presentations. Yeah, and also well done to the 3 speakers. Yeah, Ms. Hazel, Ms. Prachi, and also Ms. Shireen. Yeah, well done. Okay, indeed, this is a very good sharing session whereby we as the academicians can learn a lot from all of you in the industry. So Before we wrap up this session, I would like to read out few announcements from the conference organizer. The first one, the session recording will be made available at www.responsibleborneo.com.ICRTH 2022 program. Secondly, a certificate of attendance will be issued to delegates who complete a post-conference survey. Please find the survey at www.responsibleborneo.com.ICRTH 2022. The survey will be closed after 1 week. Thirdly, for more information about ICRTH 2022 and other conferences, please visit www.responsibleborneo.com/ICRTH 2022 program. And lastly, for any questions about ICRTH 2022, please feel free to contact us at ICRTH2022@responsibleborneo.com. So my final words is that thank you once again to the conference organizers for having myself and Dr. Virayan for the session chair's task, and also see you all around soon. Thank you very much.